My name is Joanne C. Hillhouse, also called Jo Hadley. I am 51. I am from Antigua. You didn't hear the girl from Antigua. I grew up in a sense of community with a value system that emphasized hard work. To this day, when I walk through Otters, it feels like how those turtles find their way back to where they were born. It feels like where I'm from. I tend to default to Otters, so I feel like Otters comes through my pen all the time. The stories are set in different spaces, but the Otter's sensibility, I think, comes through a lot without me thinking about it. In what ways has Antigua changed in my lifetime? A million ways. We have a ton more cars now. When I was a kid, we used to count the cars. That used to be a thing, you know. A lot less of freedom and space. Now it's somebody's coming around the corner. Someone is always there. It's a lot of noise. The language has shifted. I was saying to someone the other day, of course we speak Caribbean English. We have our local vernacular. But even some of the things that we call things has shifted from, I guess, one colonial master to the other colonial master. I don't know what the core identity is. I have a friend that used to say bad-mindedness, but not in a negative way. When I was growing up, maybe it's the calypsos and so from my time, we were very centered in our Antiguan-ness. You know, we had songs like, we're bigger than them, so we didn't think we were small in any other Caribbean island. We didn't look to Trinidad as a mecca for our calypso, because we had Short Shirt and Swallow and Obstinate. We had Burning Flames. Are you kidding me? Burning Flames changed the whole game, and they're from right here. So we were proud of the things that we were creative, and we were proud of the things that we created and that were emblematic of us. Viv Richards, come on, Andy Roberts. And all of it has to do with that sense of, if we're a little seed and we don't think that anybody can, it's not an arrogance, it's a sense of self-possession. So just the things that we harnessed that were about us, and of course at the same time being very welcoming of other communities. I feel like we've always had that element in us as well. Every Antiguan can trace some line to a Montserratian, a Dominican, a Vincentian, and these days a Jamaican, Guyanese, like 108 square miles. And we don't realize how small that is, right? We're cut and contrived culture. When I say creative, our people, at least in my generation, didn't have a lot. But there's a Nikki Giovanni poem about, we didn't know we were poor until someone told us. So all the things that our parents did to sustain us, they were being creative with very little. When we were making our own Christmas decorations out of plastic bags and making the plastic, we didn't know that was, well, we're not buying Christmas decorations. We were just having fun, you know. So there was a cut and contrive element to the culture that wasn't consumerist. It was more about creating, in my opinion. So maybe all that is tied up in the bad-mindedness. We interpret bad-mindedness as, we're gonna make our own, we're gonna believe in ourselves, we're gonna do our thing. I was thinking earlier today about Carnival and how much I grew up loving Carnival. I was a majorette. My earliest memories include Tanti, that's my grandmother, waking us up, getting us dressed. My mom, who's been out all night, she's coming to pick us up to take us back with her to Juve. And then you go to Juve and you see zip-up panties, half-slip-on nighties, as Short Shirt sang. You just see all the, like people, like men, in this culture we talk about all these stereotypes and cliches and prejudices, and yet in Carnival all that goes away and people just exist. You know, Carnival for me was the purest form of expression in that sense. We would build these costumes and we'd play mass and then discard the costume because the costume wasn't the point. The point was that feeling of liberation and feeling and expression you felt in the dance. When the rain would come down, when you're in this community of people you haven't met before, but you're all experiencing this thing together. All that is part of it, you know? Family on my dad's side, they grew up in the pottery business, coal pot making. When my aunt, it's not an assembly line. She sits down with the clay, she molds the clay with her hand, and no two parts are the same. You know, all that is expression. She might look at it as her craft, her job. But the reason why I wrote about it in Oh God is I saw the creativity in it, and I saw the tradition in it, and I saw the legacy building in it, you know. So to me, expression is just how we move through the world. Mass used to tell stories. I'm not going to be shouting, wave my fist at the clouds about what Mass is now, but Mass used to tell stories. And for me as a kid, Mass was theater. For me, one of my happiest accomplishments was, as a carnival baby, was played Mass all through the years. Dynamics, I've played with Dynamics, I've played with Extreme, I've played with Solid, I've played with Revelers, but Dynamics I played with for most of my time. And then one year, because I write story, and some of those stories are children's stories, I made a Mass from one of my characters with some friends of mine. It was the Mango Tree Fairy from the Caribbean fairy tale with Grace. Every time I look at those pictures, I'm like, that's the character I created. She was on the road for Carnival Mass. That is retention. That is what Mass meant to me as a kid when I saw Fire and Ice coming up High Street. And I looked up and it was, Hollywood had nothing on those costumes, just slamming you with color and imagery and just, oh my God. My mother played that year. And from what Mass sparked in my head, when I created that character on the page, I had to see her on the road. Because we, you know, when we're talking about what we're passing on to the kids, we're just going to put a Dora, a SpongeBob, I don't know, a Wonder Woman. How about all characters? But I would like to see La Jablesse, you know. I would like to see the Sukuya. I'd like to see all of us, all of our characters, because that's how we retain the culture. We tell stories to ourselves, to each other, we pass it on through Mass, through song, through the written word. If we ever get the hang of it and the resources to do it through the stories we put on TV and in the movies, all of it. That's how we retain it. What features of my identity do I feel most connected with? I think I feel things strongly, and a negative part of our culture is when I was growing up, that was, you know, you're too thin-skinned, you're too this or whatever. And I've learned to accept that it's a part of me, and I need to stop apologizing to myself or others for being who I am. And I probably wouldn't be a writer if I wasn't taking in so much and feeling it so much. So it might be a negative to some people, but it's fed me, and it doesn't signify weakness to me to care. It means that I care about us as Antiguans as well, about who we are and where we stand in the struggle, you know. That I'm very, I don't think proud is the right word, but from the boy from Willow Bend all the way forward to be a cheetah, even though to be a cheetah is about a little boy dreaming of going to Africa. The Antiguan sensibility, whether it's how I use the language, whether it's the patterns of behavior, or the belief systems, or even how the culture existed and how it's evolving, as we've talked about, all that intentionally comes through in the work. Because for me, writing, and this perhaps is the Calypso's influence, writing cannot be general, it has to be specific. And I am specifically Antiguan, and so is my writing. As we're talking, don't get me on my soapbox about this. As much as the powers that be now talking about the orange economy, like manifest it by investing in development art programs, because it is so vital. It's vital whether you become an artist or not. It is about passing on culture. It is about stoking empathy and broadening worlds. It's about seeing beyond yourself, but also seeing yourself more clearly. All of that is what the arts gives us. Whether it's Palestine and how that relates to colonialism and all the issues that we contend with in our history and in our modern reality. Like, the arts are the ways that we grapple with who we want to be. It matters. But because it's not a one-to-one financial thing, we treat it like it doesn't matter. And then we only care about it when we can figure out how to monetize it. Whether it's monetizable or not, it matters. Period. So that's how I feel about the arts. So for me, freedom is inherent to the creative process. I think because as a gal from Antigua, I feel that nobody can tell me nothing about Antigua. They can't tell me I'm lying. They can tell me they disagree, and I'll be like, well, that's your opinion. You can hold that. But they can't tell me I'm lying because I live this too. This is mine too. I might not have a ton of money, I might not have a ton of power, but I have this pen, I have this page, and I can write it down. It's not just a me thing. We all have a right to that. However we create. It's our story too. As many Antiguans as there are as many stories. I do wish that we would always remember who we are, that as much as things change, that we remember who we are.